Hey everybody, a long time no see. Well, I've been actually pretty busy working, at work, and then also working on my projects here. I finally completed one of the bigger projects. I've completed my big Oracle deck, well, as you can see by the title. This is an 83-piece Oracle deck. These are concepts thrown in together the way it's going to sound, but it's actually highly organized. Um, a little bit about my backstory on tarot cards, well, reading cards. My first experience really was from my dad. My dad used a regular deck of playing cards as his medium, and he would read cards for my Aunt Velma. My Aunt Velma wanted her cards read as like every other weekend. She was lonely. Unfortunately, she was a widow, and she was always hoping that that King of Hearts would show up. So anyway, my dad would take a regular deck of cards. He'd have my Aunt Velma shuffle them, and then she would lay down a grid, I believe it was 6x6 cards, and my dad would start in the top left-hand corner and work his way down and tell a story. And so that was the first really good constant source of information I had about card reading. I own my own deck. I have a Druid Craft deck. I have also done a great deal of learning on that. I've created my own board that I use to put my cards down on so that I can do the Celtic Circle spread on that. But this Oracle deck is a combination of standard tarot deck, some role-playing terminologies, some favorite medias, because there's some Tolkien and there's some Star Wars on there too. And I use this to tell a story, kind of like what my dad did. I didn't like the idea of my Aunt Velma always being a specific card, because what happens if you're going to meet somebody that's just like you? If you're using up the Queen of Spades, which is what my Aunt Velma always was, what happens when you're going to meet another Queen of Spades? You'll never know, because you've already used up that card. So I have a card specifically for self. I have a different form of major arcana because, like I said, I'm using a lot of my role playing in here, Role Master, and so instead of like the King of Swords and such, I have professions from the role playing game in there, because each profession represents something that I view is important and may need to be stressed in a reading. So I made sure it was there. That's why there's so many cards. So anyway, let's get started to find out what all the cards mean. Like I said, I like to make sure that everything is represented the best I can in life. Okay, so I have one card and I have its opposite in these first sets of cards. Okay, life, we hope, is still, calm, but unfortunately we have storms go through that screw everything up, right? So that's why we have stillness and storm. Next, we are very emotional. Humans are an emotional life form. And so we are capable of great love and also as great hate or wrath, as I'm stating here. Next is virtue and corruption, because there are people that are honest, that will be honest with us, and then there are people that are going to corrupt. They are out for themselves and they don't care who they hurt, so sometimes we need that type of indicator. Alright, and now I'm having fun with this, okay? I wanted, to bond with my cards a little bit, so that's why you see two of those icons, and I'll explain all that. First off, we have wisdom. We always talk about learning and education. Well, we also have to be warned about our ignorance and our stupidity at times, because everybody has a level of ignorance on something in their lives, and sometimes we have to be reminded and warned about it. Innocence and guilt. These are perceptions. If we have done something good or if we've done something bad, or if other people have done good and or bad, we need to have an indicator for it, and that's why we have my smiling face as innocence and my bad side as the guilty side. Okay. Next is wealth and despair. You know, we do focus a lot on our materialism and our greed. We want to make sure that we have money for this, that, and everything. Well, the opposite of wealth is despair. Sometimes we need to have a forewarning if we're going to go through a rough time, and there we go. Next page. Okay, destination and destiny. Now, a lot of people are going to be thinking these are the same things. They are not. Destination is where we want to go. This is where we're hoping we're going to go. It is my destination, hopefully, to be able to finally finish writing my book, which I'm halfway done with, and get my name out there a lot more. Okay? Destiny is fate, things that are beyond my control. I could put a book out there and it might not sell worth a dang, because that would be my destiny at this time. We might want a new job, but our destiny is, instead of coming here, we're all of a sudden way over here. Okay? Destination and destiny are two different things. We have to remember that. Next is planning and aftermath. Oh, this is simple. Once before, we plan for things to happen. I am planning to write a book. Okay. And the aftermath could be anything. It could be a good seller. It could stink. We don't know. And so there we go. Those are just examples. And, before and after. We might need an indicator that some of our planning is not the greatest, or we need to do a little bit more, Next up is order and chaos. Man, that's self-evident right there. When we are in good order, we have control over the situation, and chaos is when everything seems to be going wrong. And we all go through those periods. All right. I was mentioning the self card, I believe. And so we know ourselves, and it's good to have ourselves in a card that represents us, ourselves. And what is the opposite of ourselves? But a stranger. So in life, we're going to deal with a lot of strangers, and so I decided that there should be a stranger card in there. Male and female, this is basic biology right there. And this represents other people, so we could have, a male connected with another card that tells a lot about them. Same thing with females, okay? Next up is the horde and the void. This is, again, materialism, but sometimes we have everything we need and sometimes we go without. Okay? Horde, void. All right, these are, parts of our lives. We like change, or some of us like change, and we're trying to change our lives to be better. So we have to have a card that represents change. And the opposite is some of us are stuck in the same cycle, same routine, day after day or day, and that is stagnation. Next set is growth and decline. Hey, I don't have to explain those. Next one is choice and commitment. We want choice. We want to be able to be in control of our lives, be able to go, I want to take road A instead of road B today. But sometimes we have made commitments. People expect us to do things a certain way. We have made obligations for other people, and so sometimes, even though we want to take road A, we might be forced to take road B, and that's that. Okay? Last ones of this set of cards is darkness and light. Obvious, self-explanatory. Sometimes we're in darkness, sometimes we are we can see what's in front of us. So these cards are very important. And so many times, I think people are wrapped up in their journey that they forget about the home. They neglect the home. And so I believe it was important to have cards that represent both the home and journey, because both are important in life. You have to have a good home to build on to have a better life. Okay. Next. Whoops. There we go. Okay, now, as I was saying, I was mixing in my role-playing, my Role Master game system in with this. Now, in Role Master character creation, we have 10 stats that we use to create a character. Now, I thought these were very important because, we are talking about our lives and our journeys and all this. And so there are times where we need to have these attributes and maybe focus on them a wee bit more than what we really do. Okay, so the first one's Constitution. Constitution is your ability to do things and how much you can handle. I mean, yes, it could be easy for you to bring in the groceries from the car, but what if you have to do yard work? Can you rake the yard, mow the lawn, weed the gardens, whatever else you do all in one day? Can you do it? That determines your constitution, your ability to do the work. Next up is quickness, how fast you can do the work. Sometimes we have to be quick on our feet in life. Okay, there's quickness. So that's why I believe it needs to be there. Next up is agility. It goes with quickness. It's our ability to move, to be flexible and all that. Because in life, we can't be rigid. We have to sometimes stand our ground, but we cannot be rigid where we cannot work with things or work around things. So our agility is important. A little funny story here. I know, I do this a lot throughout the video, I bet. I am using these little cards right here for my deck here. And they're rigid, and I put a little temporary glue on these, put them on the paper when I put them through my printer. Pulling that one out, well, the agility went out, yeah. So, I'm pulling it off, and it came off a little bit easier than expected, and it fell face down. And it's like, gosh darn it. So I picked it up and I smeared the ink, and that looks like a body right there. The smears were in just the right places. It looks like somebody got murdered. Haha. I got it saved. I just couldn't find it, and I was figuring, blooper reel. All right, next one is strength. Well, that's self-explanatory. Are we strong enough physically to take care of a situation? Yeah, there are times where we have to depend on our strength. Thus, the card is there. And then the very colorful one is presence. And again, this is also self-explanatory. Do you know how it is when some people can just walk into the room and change the feel of everything? Because they have a strong presence there. Some of us know a lot about certain topics and all that. I mean, like Zabora, she could talk about atheism. And she has a presence there. I mean, she is the assistant manager to groups. She is an atheist, and so she has knowledge and all that. And so when it's that topic, she stands out because, again, she has a presence in it. And I think that's important. Okay, next set of 5. Yes, I know, some of my imagery is kind of weird or very easy. Intuition is our ability to perceive. ESP is a form of intuition. It's our ability to look around and see things and get an understanding of what's going to happen. Empathy is our way of connecting to the world. While intuition is kind of more visual, empathy is emotional. And so it's our ability to see how people are feeling, what's going on with the world around us. Empathy is important. The next one is self-discipline. This is something I try to be so much better on than I am. Self-discipline is our way to push ourselves to complete goals, to complete jobs. Like this job right here, this Oracle deck. This is how many cards. Okay, 83 cards. It's quite a few to make. And if you do not have self-discipline, you are not going to complete these jobs and all these other tasks you put in there. You make all these wonderful, lofty goals for you, but without self-discipline, none of them will get done. Okay, so self-discipline is important. Self-discipline is also about ethics. And this is what makes it absolutely important. If you cannot stand by what you say, you have poor self-discipline. And, you know, nobody is going to want to be your friend when you say, yeah, I'll help you, and yet you never do. When you say that something is unethical and nobody should do it, but you end up doing it yourself, that is because you have poor self-discipline. Okay, it is a reflection of yourself. So this card, I believe, is very important. All right, next one is memory. Hey, you know, it's just like the SD card right there. It's your ability to remember everything about you and to recall it when you need it. Okay, how good is your memory? And we sometimes need a reminder that we have to remember things, or, you know, it might be important to remember what happened on this day or with these people. Okay, so memory is important. Reasoning is our ability to process information. It doesn't matter how well you can remember everything if you can't process that information and correlate, you know, people with things and events. So our reasoning is very important. And so sometimes we need a card, you know, like maybe a reasoning card going by a business card to make us remember that we have to think things out on maybe a business prospect that you're trying to work on. All right. Now, these 6 cards are inspired by the tarot deck. And 2 of them are actually tarot deck images. Obviously, the Emperor and Empress. The Emperor, these are just like the tarot deck. You know, the Emperor is talking about leadership, structure, authority, and fatherhood. The Empress is about nature and motherhood and more divine feminine aspects. Next is the Tower. The Tower is about abrupt change, you know, sudden. Something's wrong, something changes. Death is not that bad of a card because death just means change. Something stopped, something died, and something else is going to start. So in these cards, you embrace death. I'm sad to say. Now, the next 2 cards, they win a name change. The Martyr is the Hanged Man, because the Hanged Man is about sacrifice. And that is what a martyr is about too. That is about somebody willing to go through whatever to help the people around them, or maybe help themselves in the long run. Okay. The Youth. This is the Fool. I never liked the name Fool for a card because the tarot deck is a story about the youth, the fool, going through a year and what he will experience. Okay, so I don't like fool because just because you're ignorant doesn't make you a fool. So this is a youth, and so I made a card that represents youth, the new beginning. Okay, sometimes we have to represent youth and remind ourselves of the youth in our readings. All right, now on to some of the other interesting cards. Craftsman, of course, is talking about building, being creative, which is important. The Scout is about searching for information or learning. Okay, sometimes we have to go and investigate. You're being a scout. As I tell Cindy when we go shopping sometimes, I tell her I'm going to recon this store and all that to see what they have to find out, hey, when I got some more money, maybe I'll stop here and buy some if they got some. Okay? I'm being a scout. The hermit is, a hermit is somebody that lives kind of secluded away from society. Well, the hermit is your inner self. This represents who you are on the inside, something that you do not show a lot of people. Okay? Your true inner self is represented by that card. The barbarian is about brutality. Life is hard. Sometimes we have to go through some tremendous ordeals to move on. And so that is what the barbarian card represents. Freethinker is a reminder that we have to think outside the box. We have to think in other ways. We have to sometimes look at what people would take as a conspiracy theory and think it through to learn, to advance ourselves. Next card is the devil. This is about temptation, addictions, and all that, because this can eat us up from the inside just like the devil can in some interpretations. The martyr showed up again. Okay, missed that one. All right, well, like I said, martyr is about self-sacrifice. And then the opposite of that would be a healer. One thing I also notice in tarot decks, there is so much of losing and all that. Sometimes we need to get healed. And so this is a card to represent us needing to heal ourselves or the process of healing ourselves. The Archmage is pure magic. In my game, the Archmage deals with old, ancient, archaic magics. And so this represents the need of magic in our lives and sometimes doing some intense magical work. The next card is the Necromancer. Now this isn't the evil that a lot of modern games make the Necromancer out to be. In ancient days, the Necromancer communicated with the dead, didn't raise them up from the dead. It allowed you to talk to them, usually to say goodbye or to ask a question. And so that's what this card represents. Because let's say you have the Necromancer right next to the business card here. And you are maybe reminded that somebody that recently passed away or had passed away gave you some advice on something in a business sense. Maybe you should take some time to remember what they said and take that as advice. Okay? The Cavalier is about honor, integrity. The Cavalier was somebody who followed a strict sense of honor and ethics. And so sometimes we have to fight with a very strict code of ethics. And so that's what the Cavalier represents. Sometimes we have to take the high road. The next card is the Warrior. The Warrior is kind of the opposite of that. Life is not easy, and sometimes we have to fight for it. Sometimes we have to fight for what we believe in. Sometimes we have to fight to protect others. That's what the Warrior represents. Our battles to survive and thrive in life. All right, next, Shaman. Shaman is about community. We have become a society, from what I can see, people really wrapped up in themselves. They think about themselves. It's me, 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 me. The shaman is a spiritual worker for a tribe, and they think of and work for the community. They don't sit in their hut just thinking about themselves. They do the sweatshops, the chants, the drums, and all of that to help others on their spiritual journeys. We have to be reminded to be part of a community. The dervish is our sexuality. The dervish is a dancer, an erotic dancer. She, in the game, uses dances to perform spells, and she is about seduction. And, that can be good and bad, but that's the dervish, our sexuality. The magus is a word wizard, and that's why she is reading a book. Words are powerful. That's why we have our incantations in our spell work, because words have power. So we have to choose our words, not just in spell work, but in everyday applications. When we're interacting with other people, we need to be reminded to use our words carefully. And this is one of my pet peeves. Words have a certain meaning. You cannot do word salad and all of a sudden give a word new meanings because it fits your narrative. Okay? Oh, where did I put it? Right here. Never mind. A dictionary. Okay? Those words are written down and given a specific meaning for a specific reason so that we can communicate effectively. Choose your words properly. Okay? The seer. Obviously, this is like your astrologer, somebody that will get into meditative state and look into the future. This person can use cards, can use I Ching also, but they are trying to see what is in front of us. The chaotic lord is a representation of people that are working against us. They are jealous, maybe they, whatever reason they may have, they're working against us. And so that's what the chaotic lord represents. Okay, those aren't working for us. They are to cause us some troubles, and that's the chaotic lord. Next one up is the illusionist. Of course, in life there are so many illusions. We can doctor videos and all that. We can give people pig ears and pig noses and all that pretty darn easily. So we can be caught in illusions. And sometimes those illusions are very realistic and we have to be very careful. And so if you get this card in a reading, it is a warning. Something is not as it seems. All right. Again, kind of like the tarot deck, the priest and the priestess, they represent our religious, our spiritual beliefs. The male aspect and the female aspect, we know there are some slight differences, and thus they each have their own card. All right. Sage, knowledge, a wise person. Heck, that's why I got my middle name, my witch name is Sage, because I seek knowledge. I try to learn constantly. So the sage is trying to look for the wisdom in life, in the world around him. The rogue, this is the minions of that chaotic lord. The underlings that want to cause little problems for us that disrupt our lives. Okay? Sometimes we have to be reminded that some of our adversaries' friends can also cause troubles, and we should keep our eyes open. The merchant, that is the business card. Okay, I've mentioned the same business card. Well, the merchant. Okay, so this card would represent any financial endeavors you're trying to do, anything with money. There we go. The ranger is the force of nature. Okay. Um, we can't just hide in cities. We have to be out sometimes in nature, and we have to show some respect and all that. And the ranger may be indicating that we are going on a trip into some nature, and we should be careful because it can get to us if we are not careful. All right, next card, Bard. That's our entertainment. That is somebody that is going to be trying to influence us by telling us stories and singing and all that. So, and also sometimes we get so wrapped up into things. I mean, we binge watch and all that. Well, that's a form of entertainment as well. And so that can represent many things. And I think I made 2 Sierra cards. Well, I was so wrapped up making many cards. But anyway, I'll move on. Paladin. The Paladin is a representation of dogma, of religious structure, on how it is good and bad. Paladins may live by a code of honor, but if you're of another religious belief, you can be persecuted. So there is 2 sides to the Paladin, and if you are dealing with religion, a highly structured religion, this is the warning for the Paladin. The Witch Hunter. This is kind of, similar to the Paladin, but the Witch Hunter is somebody that is going to go after us witches. These are people that are going to be calling us heretics, and they make personal attacks to bring us down. They are out to destroy us. It is a warning that when we are being who we are, that there are those that do not approve and will act against us. Next one is the Gypsy. This represents our wild spirituality. Being pagan, this is the card I'm going to use to represent my UPG, how I view the world and the universe around me is my spirituality. It should not be bound. And a gypsy is known to express themselves. Again, the opposite of the witch hunter. But we have to remember not to be so rigid in our beliefs, but honorable to our beliefs at the same time. The next card is the Mentalist, of course, because people play mind games with us. There are people that have bad intentions with us. And so the Mentalist is to remind ourselves also not to be so gullible, so wanting to interact in a negative manner to some people's actions. Sometimes we have to take heed to what we think about ourselves and others. Now, the final card, I'll warn you, might be one that you might not like. Okay, first off, we got the Thief, because people are going to steal in certain ways. And they are going to rob from us because if we're doing good, they're going to be jealous and they're going to want to take from what we have. The Thief. Assassin. Sometimes people want to harm us. They want to destroy our credibility, who we are, what we believe in. Assassination of character. Right? Now, so it does not just mean physical. It is about our spirituality, our mentality. And so, but still, an assassin is somebody that's wanting to cause us extreme difficulties. The next card is the Macabre. Now, in the role-playing system, the Macabre is an adversary who works on being better than you through sickness and causing you to suffer through weaknesses. They don't openly attack you, they weaken you. So a Macabre can also represent illness in a reading. So like right now, since we've got the beer bug, you know, if you were to do a spread with this and have the macabre next to a person, that person might be getting sick. That's what this would represent. And so if they have the beer bug and all that, they might need to be warned, hey, get your shot and all that fun stuff. And finally, the last card, the slave. In life, there are times where we are out of control. We are without authority, without say in our lives. Everything is going against us. We are trying everything we can just to keep our head above water. We are a slave to the situation. Okay, yes, it's a terrible thing to be going through, but it happens. There are times where I was, many, many years ago, first wife, a little short on money and all that, and I was just doing everything just to survive. I was a slave to that situation. Okay, and then the nice part, little story on this one. I was trying to find a non-historical slave image, and so I was going through many, 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 keyword searches, and finally I got to one, and it was pretty much all Princess Leia. All the cosplayers with Princess Leia in the infamous bronze bikini. And so I tried to find one that wasn't with an actual person, in the outfit, and this is the one I found, and, and I have to admit, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia is one of the most beautiful, sexy, fictional characters there is. And if you don't agree with me, there's something wrong with you. Alright. But anyway, those are my cards for my Oracle deck. I am going to experiment with a couple different spreads using these decks, this deck, and see how my results turn out. I would love to hear what you think about some of the cards. Maybe I got some concepts wrong. I don't know. But I'd love to hear what everybody thinks about this deck, because I think it's going to be well worth the time spent in creating it. So everybody, please take care. Be at peace.